Well, I'm on the trail today. I've got Jazz here. I've got I call my fourth son, Jon, with me. He's in from Seattle, and yes, we're going to have to be aware of you because you want to knock over the camera. I just thought I would take a couple minutes and talk with Jon. We've been having quite a conversation over the last couple of days, and it's always great to see him and just reconnect into the incredible energy we have over 10 years or so now. And yeah, I just thought we would talk and see what comes out when you're on the trail and you're in nature, and especially when I'm up in Boulder. It just is an incredible energy of aliveness, and the wolf in me wants to come out and just disappear and howl and just gaze at all the beautiful rocks and scenery and earth. Just such a beautiful thing. So anyways, say something.
Well, I'll share a little bit about myself. My name is Jonathan, of course, and like Rick said, I'm in Seattle. I'm going there for my counseling degree, so I'm getting my master's in counseling, and that's just been a large passion of mine, is being able to work with people, help them through their life and understand more of themselves and understand more of love and peace. And Rick has been a huge part of that in my life within the past 10 years, and having moments of guiding me, and we just talked about this, and me guiding him in some ways, and how can we offer that to others. And I am just realizing more and more throughout the years that there's so much to live for and live into passions, and your heart and my heart, and dancing has been a huge thing for me, and wanting to get back into music, and yeah, it's a continuous journey of rediscovering yourself and living into that.
Yeah, it is. We were just talking about relationships and the need for them to change, and how just in the last couple of days we've both experienced something, but especially for Jon, and I'll let him explain it more as long as he's comfortable. But relationships do change. Our relationship started out with me more as a guide, a mentor. It's definitely, as I said, he's my fourth son, so it's transferred into something so much more, where he's a part of my life, part of my family. Jazz sure loves him. Sometimes I think she loves him more than me, but I know she doesn't. But she's always pretty excited to see Jon. But what we've talked about here as we've been on the snow today is, what's new language for that? What does it look like to step out of that role of me being the master or the guide or the mentor or whatever word, discipler, or all these words from our past? What does it look like to kind of move into a more equal relationship that, like Jon said, we're helping to guide each other. We use our story, and there's a commonality that comes together when we talk of, I can speak into your life, you can speak into my life, and no longer is it you're here and I'm here. What does it look like to live here? Because for me, that's one of my goals. I don't want to be a counselor who's here and people come in and they talk to me. I see the need, and I understand that, but for me, it's more of like, as I coach, as I get on the trail, as I connect with people, I want them to feel like they're a part of my story. So bringing the different components of my life together in a way of sharing it and drawing them out is kind of my life course. What does that look like to help people feel more comfortable? So if you don't mind, speak to that. I mean, just a little bit of what you've experienced the last couple of days, and then just even some of the language we've formed here in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah. You mentioned counseling, and how there's those levels, right? Like there's a counselor and there's the client, and as much as there there's the natural roles and like responsibilities of that, and I'm learning much of this as a counselor myself. Is that that's how we also seek growth too? That like there's this hierarchy of levels of counselors know more, clients don't, and or mentors know more, or students don't, and there is the difference is that growth. I'm wondering is it's not so level based, it's not so hierarchical. It's rather, instead of the trajectory going up, it's more of a trajectory of circle in the same level of plane where it's more circle in this way, more flat, but it's repetitive, it's also deepening.
Yeah.
And
So I have to stop and say something. That was really amazing of you to keep going with this beautiful blonde woman who just ran by. That was really amazing of you to stay concentrated and into your words. I'm very
called
impressed.
Practice and focus.
Very impressed.
It's practice, focus.
So
I saw her. I was like, okay, I'm still talking here. We're still here.
so in the moment.
I'm saying something. I need to say it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
sorry for the interruption.
It's okay. I think I'm not sure if it's Buddhism that said my own counselor told me that there's no such thing as distractions. They're just
It's a great way to put it.
ways of life reminding you what you can focus on. And so it just brings like an abundance of, oh, like something that's uncomfortable isn't necessarily bad. It's a lesson to learn from. But anyways, like going back to roles, and even like I'll speak more into Rick and my relationship, is that much of what I've experienced in the 10 years with Rick is that in the beginning I saw Rick as a mentor, as a guide, as this figure I can look up to, as someone who can go potentially be on that level. And the issue is, and of course there's time and room for that there's moments where people need to be guided. There's moments that we do need some truths and someone to look in and speak on what is hard to really see in our personal lens. But and I'm also thinking, I mean, there's so many layers to this. It's about like I'm thinking like privileges, or like sense of what society places on what is considered more important, and roles that we're made to be in. But essentially, because Rick is older and because Rick has more wisdom and knowledge in his life, I felt myself not like I can never reach you in that level. And I'll strive, and I'll grow, and I'll stretch. And I'm doing it for me, but also it came to a point where it kind of blended into that relationship where it made me believe that I cannot be on the same level as Rick anymore. And so that, my belief in that, caught me in a bind where there was this like I'm a forever student. I'm not gonna reach a level where I can have my own voice. I can share my own experiences. And it came to a point in realizing that that's not necessarily true, that it's in my choice of being a student. I limited myself from recognizing that it isn't this, it is this. And I mean, being a counselor it's just a different rules and all that, but like within our relationship, it can very much so easily be in this. And counseling too can, in a sense, be that. But there's responsibility of the counselor to, in having awareness and the very sheer fact of the client paying the therapist to seek help. That's the role play that is there, but it doesn't mean that the client can't learn and teach the therapist something too. Yeah. And so it's not as this anymore. Life is more in this circle, and the give and take, and yeah, that's what came into mind for me, and like what you just said.
Yeah, and I think the really cool part is it leaves us in a place of not forcing, but stepping into new language. And the new language is growth. And the new language is you finding your voice in it, and me allowing you to have that. And then us meeting up in this relationship that I think is so powerful for you and me, but it goes into any intimate relationship you have in your life. You know, especially with, you know, just talking through relationships and intimacy and sex. And it's so important to understand these components of coming together around these issues and allowing each other to have a voice in the relationship. And there's just such a power in that, of just having these conversations and developing a new language so that there is constant room for growth. Is such a huge part of relationships, and that's definitely one of the things that I love about Jon, is we're able to be willing to be completely honest with each other and talk through the heavy shit that you just, in a lot of relationships, that just for some reason don't get there. Yeah, we've been able to get there based upon all that we've been through and seen each other go through. So it's really been incredible. It's really been incredible. Real quickly, just because ceremonies become such an important part of my life, and yoga, and we've been talking through Kriya, and just talking through all this new movement, and how it's just transforming me and giving me a place to go and a space to be. And I purposely didn't share a lot with Jon. I wanted him to just walk in the door and experience it on his own without my interpretation. So, you know, just in a minute or two, because we're chewing up time here, and I want to get back on the trail. But if you would, just kind of sum up what your experience was as Jon did a class with me, with Marnie, who started ceremony, and we then did a ceremony talking through the moon we're in and just the season we're in. And Michelle just does such an incredible job teaching. I've just learned so much from her. But anyways, so I know it's hard to do, but try to wrap that up in a minute or two of what are some of the words that come to mind, and yeah, just share that.
I mean, very fun came into mind, being able to be in the class and just doing yoga again. I had been doing yoga for a while, but this was different. This felt more in a pace that felt raw, because the yoga that I'm used to is very back in Seattle, is very exercise based. It wasn't that really spiritual, but it somehow was in this space. It was very we were just doing poses, but there was something in the atmosphere in the room, smells and breathing, that was very deep and intentional and spiritual. Very beautiful space. I love the art, the different there was such carefulness in what was placed where, and the pictures on the wall, the mural. It was wonderful. Ceremony was that's where I find words to be more complicated, because it was mind blowing. It was I felt seen and I don't know if others felt I guess I'm trying to say is that I'm not sure if Michelle was aware how much she was seeing me in a way. It was or others too, and it was profound. It was eye-opening. It was what I really actually needed to really put language to things.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, I
You're
mean,
welcome.
for me, it's one of the themes that I go off of, and anyone who's followed my writing and known me for a while understands that. But it's home. It's that place of I've told Marnie, and I think Michelle was there as well. Of just this feels like Cheers, for us old timers. And the show Cheers was a bar in Boston that everyone showed up to every night to have a drink, but they weren't showing up for the drink. They were showing up just to be seen, to have a place to go, to converse with people who were a part of their life. It's so great to have that piece. It's something I always look for. It's something I cherish, to be in a community with people, that there is that inclusiveness that welcomes everyone in based on age, not based on age, not based on religious beliefs, not based on color, creed, whatever you come in with, just come in and be. And you'll find a space here because it's that open and welcoming. You bring the spirituality you bring to it, and then you worship there with who you are and what you find. So there's such a beauty in that, and there's such a purpose in that Marnie has done an incredible job of magically putting some pieces together that I haven't ever experienced anywhere I've been. So I only bring that up because it was sort of really set the tone for our time. We really wanted this to be a spiritual trip to talk through life and growth and change and things we both need to move into. And ceremony's was a big part of that, and will continue to be. Well, awesome. If you made it this far, 17 minutes in, thank you. But today, like I said, we're just on the trail. We're hiking. We're breathing. We're in awe. We're listening. We're stopping. We've taken some pictures. We're laughing at jazz and with jazz and just being. And that's what I want to leave you with. Find the places in your life that you can just ground down into, to just be.
It's all about taking steps.
Just whether that's on the trail in Boulder, or it's sitting in your house in a special sacred place, or listening to music, or just taking moments to be with yourself. And that really is such an important part of life. Namaste. You have yourself a great day.